Just before this episode, here's how you can get more from Never a Truer Word. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, you can subscribe to this channel to get early access to the weekly analysis episodes, video episodes so you can see the statements as I analyse them, and exclusive content too. And if you're here on YouTube, then become a member of the channel to get early access to everything and exclusive content not available anywhere else. When someone has created a life based on lies and it all comes crashing down around them and they publicly say, yeah, I lied and this is the truth, how can you tell if they are being honest now? By looking at their words.
There is no reason for me to lie, and it's not something I want to be doing either.
Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Looking at what is said using my process of statement investigation, which you and anyone can learn to give themselves an advantage in understanding the people all around them. Now, Apple Cider Vinegar is big on Netflix right now, and it tells the true story of Belle Gibson, who claimed she cured her terminal cancer through changing her lifestyle and then launched a career as a wellness guru. Only she didn't have cancer ever, and she made a lot of money on that lie. So we'll look at the lie she told that made her famous, and then how did she tell her story once the truth came out? Once she was rumbled, was she being open and honest, or did Belle's lies continue? And what we'll look at as we're looking at Belle talking is look at her priorities. What are the things she talks about time and time again? Because that will show what is important to her at the time that she is talking. We'll look at what she owns. What does she own by saying, I did this, and me, and my, and using very personal pronouns? And what does she give a little bit of distance to by using different pronouns? And we'll also look at how she answers questions. Does she take the questions, and very sensitive questions are put to her, does she take them straight on and answer them directly? Or does she divert and dive around the question, trying to create her own narrative? Let's start off with Belle, and this is Belle from about 2012. Very little exists of Belle at the time, at the height of her scam and the height of her hoaxing, but here's something here to watch.
It was 5 years ago I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and we launched the whole pantry a year ago. That evolution came through my community. They kept reaching out to me saying, how are we going to, live the whole life without resources or without something pulling that all together? So that was my responsibility.
So that's Belle talking at the height of the hoax. You can tell she is very happy there. Was there a lot in there that we could tell she was telling a lie, that she did not have cancer? Well, let's look into her words. But to get away with this hoax for so long and to make such a success of it, she must have been a very good liar. In fact, she reminds me of Sherry Papini, the woman who faked her own abduction. I did an episode on that, which you can catch in the back catalogue, about how these lies were well told. And I think that's what Belle is doing there. So not very many words to deal with. But could we have told from there was something up? Potentially, but I think it would have been, I've got some question marks rather than she's a liar. She started off that clip by saying, it was 5 years ago I was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Now, no, she's not saying I have terminal cancer or I had terminal cancer. She's only talking about the diagnosis that she was given. The truth leaks out so often from people, and I wonder if that's what's happening here, is that her lie is not I had cancer, her lie is I was diagnosed with cancer. So in her mind, to convince herself that she's doing the right thing here, as long as she believes she has cancer, as long as someone said to her, you have cancer, then she has every right to believe that she has terminal cancer and she can trade on that cancer. So that might be what is going on here, but what I'm not saying is someone who says to you, 5 years ago I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, is lying. It's just maybe showing how Belle's thought processes are working. Go back and listen to it. There is a micro pause between I was diagnosed with and terminal cancer. It's a very small pause, but it's almost like it's hard for her to say, because lying is hard. We don't like lying. All the way through this, she must have been stressed out, wondering when this was all going to come crashing around her. So that lie is going to be very sensitive, and there is that micro pause between her saying, I was diagnosed with, and terminal cancer. And then she does a really interesting switch. She talks about, I was diagnosed with terminal cancer, so that's talking in the personal there with that personal pronoun. And then she talks a lot about other people. So we launched the whole party, the whole pantry a year ago. So we launched the whole pantry a year ago. Now that might be perfectly correct. Very few large endeavors like this are a solo enterprise, so there may well have been other people involved in this, but all of a sudden she's maybe hiding inside the crowd, and it was we that launched the whole party. And then the biggest thing for me is the part where she says, that evolution came through my community. They kept reaching out to me saying, you know, how are we going to live the whole life without resources or without something pulling all that together? And so what she's doing is saying, it wasn't me that did all this. I did it because of my community. Now, I find very often in lying that people will look to attach themselves to others and say they are doing this for others, not for themselves, as a way of looking virtuous and as a way of making that lie less questioned. So instead of us looking at Belle and going, do you really have terminal cancer, and talking about that, she would much rather talk about the community that she's got. So they kept reaching out to me saying, what are you going to do to pull all that together? And then she finishes with something that, again, is very personal to her. And you can tell she was very proud when she said it. That was my responsibility. So I do have some markers that potential deception was happening, but I wouldn't have watched that and gone, she's a liar, there's something up. But there are some markers that potential deception is happening. And also I can see this as someone who likes being at the center of things, talking about my community. We launched the whole pantry, and that was my responsibility. Now let's look at something else from Belle. This is a social media post reportedly from her around about the time of 2012, 2013. And so I'll read you the social media post that she posted. Again, this is at the height of her powers when the scam was in full swing. Here's the post. You have serious mental health issues if you conjure up lies, situations, health issues, struggles, or add in an unreasonable amount of detail to keep things interesting. Make it your way of creating interaction or to satisfy and keep up with all the other lies you've told. Grow up, calm down, live simply, shut the F up and be normal, in other words. Now, this, number one, is very potentially what we would call an embedded confession. So while she seems to be talking about other people and saying you have serious mental health issues if you're doing all of this, this is her showing, at the very least, she has a concept of how people conjure up serious health issues, why they would do it, and how they tell those lies. So let's break this all down. Now, she talks about you, but she's really talking about her, I believe, here. So mental health issues is what she mentions, and I think she does have mental health issues. She's certainly a prolific liar. And even if you thought lying was fine, or if you justified it inside your head, the stress of this huge lie would be paying a toll inside her head. If you can conjure up lies, situations, health issues, struggles, and then she says, add in an unreasonable amount of detail to keep things interesting. Now, I have seen two schools of thoughts around liars. Some people say you can tell a liar because they add a lot of detail to their lie. And the theory there is that liars use more detail than people who are telling the truth because they really want to say, I'm on top of this, I know everything about this, so do not doubt this lie. So here comes detail after detail after detail. Another school of thought says that liars are light on detail because the more detail you tell, the more there is to trip yourself up on, the more there is to get caught out on. Now, what seems to be happening with Belle, oh, by the way, I think that both can be true. Liars will sometimes use a lot of detail. Liars will sometimes be vague and light on detail. I don't think there's either one thing is predominantly true. What I do see is it's the way the lies are told, whether they're being detailed or whether they're being vague. The words around those details or vagueness are the clues as to whether someone's lying. So Belle's mode is obviously an unreasonable amount of detail to keep things interesting, to make it your way of creating interaction. So once again, we've got this thing that she loves being the center of attention, and potentially the lie snowballed, not because she was making loads of money from it, but because she was creating interaction and she was becoming the center of attention. And she says you also have to make up the unreasonable amount of detail to satisfy, which means that satisfy and keep up with the other lies that you've told. Now, this is something that I see all the time in deception. Telling one little lie is quite easy. You just make up something that happened, or you say a fact that is actually false. However, you then potentially get asked more questions about it, and you have to think on the spur of the moment of another lie to back up the first lie that you've told. And before you know it, You're just in what's called a web of lies. You tell lie after lie after lie, but it becomes really complex, and that's what really makes liars come unstuck, because the mental pressure of keeping up with all the lies you've told and remembering all the lies you've told is really, really tough. Plus, at the same time as you're remembering all those lies, you've got the truth in your head as well, because the truth will never, ever go away. And she says, shut the F up, be normal, in other words. And I think this is an embedded confession. This is her talking very interestingly, because we can learn a lot about liars from this, or certain types of liars from this. This is her talking about how she lies and what's going on in her head, which is a lot of stress, which she is saying are mental health issues, which she could be suffering from mental health issues. And also, she would much rather be normal. The success was all right, but she would much rather be normal. And then finally, from this time when she was starting to be exposed, this is one of her first quotes around that. And the quote is, "It's just very scary, to be honest, because you start to doubt the crux of things that make up who you are, you know? I'm blonde and I'm tall and I've got hazel eyes and I've got cancer. And all of a sudden, you take away some of those high level things and it's really daunting." Now, let's break that down, because in this start of admission, but it's not really an admission, she's not saying I'm lying. Just look at the distance here and the deceptive language. So it's just very scary. Okay, so just is a word that red flags deception all the time. Every time I see it, I go, what is happening here? So she here is just trying to minimize us down to one way of thinking, which is something being scary. So is that an attempt to get some sympathy? Is that an attempt to show how fragile she is, to keep the dogs away, if you like? It's just very scary, to be honest. So that very shows a need to persuade. So just shows a need to just focus on this. The very shows that she wants to persuade us how scary it is. So I don't think it is only scary to her. I think there are lots of other things going on. It's just very scary. Then she says, to be honest. Why is she flagging up the fact she's being honest, especially as a prolific liar? She's now telling us when she's being honest here. Often when people flag up they're being honest with something like to be honest, they're not being completely honest. Then she starts to create the distance, because you start to doubt the crux of things that make up how you are. So this is not Belle talking about herself. She's creating that distance here because you, not her, because you start to doubt the crux of things that make up who you are. And this is, again, it's distance. You doubt the crux of things that make up who you are. You didn't have cancer, Belle. You were lying here. So there's no doubt going on about who you are or who made up what you are. This is you trying to create this doubt and this, oh, feel sorry for me. And there's a lot of confusion going on, when really there wasn't a lot of confusion. You said to the world you had terminal cancer and had cured it through lifestyle changes. And none of that was true. And then she said, you know, and then she starts owning this. I'm blonde and I'm tall and I've got hazel eyes. By the way, I don't think she is blonde. It looks like bottle blonde. I'm blonde and I'm tall and I've got hazel eyes and I've got cancer. Now, that last part is a lie. All of a sudden, you take away some of those high-level things and it's really daunting. Now, we haven't taken away the fact she's blonde. We haven't taken away the fact she's tall. We haven't taken away the fact she's got hazel eyes. But she says some of those high-level things. So there's that distance there. What she means is, but when I don't have cancer, it's really daunting. Or when I don't have cancer, things have changed. But no, she creates that distance. You take away some of those things. Well, we haven't taken away your hair colour, your height, your eye colour. Cancer is all that's been taken away. But you've got this real lack of engagement with what's going on. Some of those high-level things, and it's really daunting. Again, daunting? Well, we had scary before. We've got daunting now. Slightly different words. But certainly nothing expressed in there about regret. Nothing expressed there about apology either. So that's 2015. Let's go on and look at Belle now giving a television interview, and this is gold dust for statement investigation. She's given a television interview. She's been rumbled and she's trying to tell us what is going on now in her life, what is happening with Belle now, and is she being truthful or are the lies continuing? Let's take a look.
Belle, are you prepared to tell the truth today? The whole truth? No little
absolutely.
half truths, no gobbledygook. The truth.
No, I've been really transparent.
Okay, so there's the setup for it. It's 2018, so it's sometime on. Belle, are you prepared to tell the truth today? And she says, yeah. The whole truth, no little half-truths? And she says, absolutely. And then she's asked, no gobbledygook? And she says, no, I've been really transparent. So let's go to the start of that. Belle, are you prepared to tell the truth today? And she says, yeah. Just one word. It's a yes-no question, and she does say yeah at the beginning of it. But prepared to tell the truth and telling the truth, two different things. So all we know is that she is prepared to tell the truth. And then the interviewer, the whole truth, no little half-truths, and Belle says, absolutely. Another red flag for deception word, absolutely. Because, again, this is a yes or no response that's expected. The whole truth, no half-truths, yes, the whole truth. I'll tell the whole truth. That would be a very sincere answer. It's got a yes in it, and it would tell us what the intention is. However, what we get instead is this word, absolutely. And Belle is using so many red flag words for deception. If you want to check those out, by the way, I have a book called The 8 Words Liars Use, which just is a real hack to seeing if someone is potentially telling you the truth or trying to deceive you. Just spotting 8 simple words and concepts inside what they say. Absolutely is one of them. Absolutely? Why not just say yes? Absolutely shows this need to convince. If you're being truthful, if you're being honest, why do you have this need to convince us? And then she says, no gobbledygook. And she says, no, I've been really transparent. Now, what is going on with that answer? Well, there's a no. Is that, and it's all coming very thick and fast. That no could actually just be in response to the no little half-truths, because the first 2 questions have come, bum, bum, bum. Are you going to tell the truth, the whole truth? And she's going, yeah, absolutely, no. Is that an admission that she's not telling the truth? Or is that no just straight to the no gobbledygook answer? In which case, it's fine. There will be no gobbledygook. And then she says, I've been really transparent. In that 4-word phrase, we've just got 2 indications that she may not be telling the truth. I've been really transparent. Been is past tense. So that's not saying I am really transparent or I will be here really transparent. She's saying in the past, I have been really transparent. No guarantee that she's going to be transparent now. And then she uses another persuasive word, really transparent. Well, look, you're either transparent or you're not transparent. So why the need to say really transparent? It's a need to persuade, and also it shows us that she has a sliding scale of transparency in her head, from full transparency, no transparency, and somewhere along there is really transparent, and that's where I think she's at. I'm going to give you something, but I'm not going to give you full transparency. But look, just that first answer says to me, we are not going to get the truth from Belle here. Are you prepared to tell the truth today? Yeah. The whole truth? Absolutely. Need to convince and persuade us that she's going to tell the truth, which means that she wants to set up for the fact that you got to believe what's coming, which means it might not be true. And then I've been, so past tense, so no intention here about being transparent, really transparent. So again, persuading us that she's going to be truthful. That should put us on high alert for the fact that she's not going to be truthful. Let's listen to some more from Belle.
Do you accept the level of damage you've done to people's trust?
I do. And they are feeling disrespected. They are feeling hurt. They are feeling betrayed.
And your whole trade was on these poor people. That you inspired them, that they felt sorry for you, that you showed them a path. I mean, you profited from that. You gained from that in reputation and in income.
I didn't trade in my story or in other people's lives.
You did trade in your story. Belle, it's all here.
It is
It is all here. You know, you go on Instagram in 2013. I have been healing a severe and malignant brain cancer for the past few years with natural medicine, Gerson therapy and foods. It's working for me.
It is. And if
Except you didn't have brain cancer.
No, I didn't.
No.
But when I was writing that, I thought that I did, and I was feeling well.
Yes, but even then you misrepresented what you thought was your truth, which was all a big lie anyway.
I'm really sorry. And it hurts me, and I beat myself up every day for how I have hurt those who mean a lot to me.
Wow, there's an exchange and a half, which starts off with the question to Belle. Do you accept the level of damage you've done to people's trusts? Her answer is, I do. And they are feeling disrespected. They are feeling hurt. They are feeling betrayed. Now, what we have here, very first thing she says is actually honest. Do you accept the level of damage you've done to people's trust? She says, I do. Now, it's not quite yes, I do, but there is an admission in there of I do. So I think we are getting some honesty here. But once more, we get this huge distance going on from Belle because she doesn't talk about what she's done, which is the whole point. She's sitting there. She's sitting there having to account for what she has done. However, she just talks about how people feel, and they are feeling disrespected. They are feeling hurt. They are feeling betrayed. So she doesn't answer the question directly because the question is about the damage you've done to people's trusts, and she doesn't talk about how she has affected people's trust. She is talking about how they feel, but she's taken herself out of that. She's not saying, I've made them feel disrespected, or I've disrespected them, I've hurt them, and I betrayed them. She's just saying how they are feeling. And by the way, it's feeling. So it's, again, feeling is a bit of a sense. There's a bit of vagueness going on with feeling. It's not they have been disrespected, they have been hurt, they have been betrayed. It's just how they are feeling. But she doesn't say that it was her that did it. The question goes on, and your whole trade was on these poor people, that you inspired them, that they felt sorry for you, that you showed them a path. I mean, you profited from that. You gained from that in reputation and in income. She says, I didn't trade in my story or in other people's lives. Now, I think that's a personal definition that's going on there. And I think that Belle is doing some mental gymnastics, and probably has been for years, to make this all right in her head. We're all aware of the concept of a little white lie. That is, if someone walks up to us and goes, does this dress suit me? And we go, in our heads, I'm not really sure it does. But what's the benefit in saying that? Why not give the person wearing it confidence that this is a lovely dress and looks great on them? So we choose a little white lie. We justify it in our heads of, this will give them confidence. I don't want to ruin their confidence. So we give a little white lie and go, it looks gorgeous on you. Now, that is how we justify telling lies. Most of us do it around white lies, things where there's very little consequence to it. However, Belle, I think, is justifying larger and larger and larger lies. And so I think that what's gone on in her head, very possibly, is this thing of, well, look, I haven't had cancer, and I didn't cure cancer through all this wellness and well-being thing, but really spreading a healthy well-being message is a good thing to do. And if my white lie is saying that I had cancer and have recovered from cancer through doing this, well, that justifies all the nice stuff I'm doing in creating this community and raising all this money. So that's why I think when she says, I didn't trade in my story or in other people's lives, in her head, that's kind of true. She didn't do that. She did nice things. So I think there's a personal definition justifying the lie going on. And this is why I find this Belle Gibson thing fascinating, because not only am I trying to see now, is she being honest and transparent now that she's been rumbled, but I think she really is giving us some insight into how quite a serious liar carries out their lies. She's told, you did trade in your story, Belle. It's all there. Now, you'll notice that gets quite a stressful part of the interview, and Belle goes, it is there, which again is admitting what has happened. But I don't think she thought about that there because we have a conscious brain which works very slowly, plots out the words, makes us feel comfortable with what it is we're going to say, and then sends those words down to our mouth. It's quite a slow process in comparison to the rest of our brain. And so I think that while she was doing this, I didn't trade in this answer and concocting that, the subconscious has to take over, and that works a lot faster, and that just sends truthful words to our mouth. And I think when we're stressed, that happens a lot, and that it is there, I think, comes from that part of her. She's told, it is all there. You know, you go on Instagram in 2013 saying, I have been healing a severe and malignant brain cancer for the past few years with natural medicine, Gerson therapy and foods, and it is working for me. And she says, it is. Now, again, I think this is one of those, she's really stressed here, so this is one of those instinctive reactions. She's actually falling back on the old lie, which she's been caught in. Yeah, I didn't have brain cancer, but she's saying it is. Lies hard to die. Our credibility disappears. Our social standing disappears. Our security disappears if we've been caught telling big lies like Belle. So it's in her interest to make these lies small as possible, and maybe even to perpetuate some of them if she can, which is when she says it is. But the interviewer sees through that and says, except, but you didn't have brain cancer. And Belle's reply is, no, I didn't. But when I was writing that, I thought I did, and I was feeling well. So we have, again, at the very start of these answers, she is giving a lot of honesty. So, except you didn't have brain cancer, she says, no, I didn't. Now, there's a moment of honesty. It's 3 words long, but it's a moment of honesty. And then she ruins it all, because the next word is but. The answer is, no, I didn't, but when I was writing that, I thought I did, and I was feeling well. So, but in a sentence means that something has been said, but, and that's an indicator that what I'm going to say next, I think, is more important than what I said. Certainly a bigger priority to me. So that's what but indicates in a sentence. You may have heard the phrase, everything before the but is bull. No, 2 things on either side of the but can both be truthful. What but signifies is what's coming next is more important to me. And she says, when I was writing that, I thought I did, and I was feeling well. Now, that word I thought I did is crucial to Belle's narrative now at the time of this interview, because and I see this very often in deception, that people will use thoughts and feelings to explain away lies, because we can't interrogate someone's thoughts. We can't inspect someone's feelings. They're very personal and very inside. So we can argue with facts all the time. We can argue with facts not being true, and that therefore you can prove someone is a liar. It's much harder to argue with someone's thought or feeling at the time, and that's what Belle's doing. She's saying, I thought I had cancer. You can't prove I didn't think I had cancer, therefore I'm going to hang on to this I thought I had cancer concept, and that's what's going on there. You didn't have brain cancer. I didn't, but when I was writing that, I thought I did, and I was feeling well. It's put to her, yeah, but even then you misrepresented what you thought was your truth, which was all a big lie anyway. And Belle says, I'm really sorry, and it hurts me, and I beat myself up every day for how I have hurt those who mean a lot to me. So we've got persuasiveness here. I'm really sorry. Now, this is the nearest thing we have to an apology that we've seen so far from Belle, but it's got that persuasive thing there. She's not just sorry, she's really sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. When you hear these things, people are trying to persuade you how sorry they are. However, she doesn't say what she's sorry for. She, in fact, talks about herself. I'm really sorry, and it hurts me, and I beat myself up every day. So she's trying to turn herself into the victim here of her lies, of her scam, of her hoax. It hurts me. So the person I've hurt most is me, not anyone else that was taken in by this, not anyone whose lives I put at risk with the size of my lie. No, she's the one that's hurt here. It hurts me, and I beat myself up every day for how I have hurt those who mean a lot to me. Let's just look at that part there. I beat myself up every day for how I have hurt those who mean a lot to me. Lots of pauses there. So she beats herself up every day for, and then she has to think about what it is she wants to say. She wants to make sure that that is going to work for her and be socially acceptable. So there's an while she thinks of the word hurt, and then it's only those who mean a lot to her. Now, she had apps and books, and thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of people partook in all of this from Belle. So that's, very distant people in her life. But what she's saying there is she's worried about hurting only those who mean a lot to me. What is that? Very close friends and family? I mean, that is not the entire people who fell for your con job, Belle. So, a couple of extracts into this interview, and this is someone in damage limitation mode, and someone who I believe is still telling lies in order to mitigate the past lies. Now, Belle claimed at the time she was diagnosed by a doctor, this cancer was diagnosed by a doctor, and it was not diagnosed by a doctor, mainly because there was no cancer. So what she's saying now is it was diagnosed by a strange guy who came round and diagnosed the cancer using some machine in her house. And she's going to describe what that cancer test was like.
So he comes to your home and he does some tests on you?
He does.
What sort of tests?
It was a box, a machine with lights on the front, and that machine was apparently German technology. There's two metal pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back, and then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies.
And what were the results?
He said to me that I had a stage 4 brain tumour and that I had approximately 4 months to live.
Interesting test. So the scenario is put to Belle. So he comes to your home and he does tests on you. And Belle says he does. Now, you'll notice Belle's answer is in the present tense. This is talking about past events. This is talking about years ago when this guy came round and diagnosed the cancer. And that present tense puts me on alert. Why are you talking about the past events in present tense? The only thing I'd say in mitigation is the question is also put in present tense. So he comes to your home and he does some tests on you is the question. And Belle says he does. So I'm going to let the present tense slide here. What sort of tests is the question? And Belle says it was a box, a machine with lights on the front. And that machine was apparently German technology. There's two metal pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back. And then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies. So, what sort of test? She says it was a box, a machine with lights on the front, and that machine was apparently German technology. I mean, that's the first thing that she wants to talk about is the lights on the front and German technology. Just think, we've all had a blood pressure test at the doctors. When someone says, what test did they use? You'll go, yeah, it was the blood pressure thing where they put a cuff on your arm, fill it up, and then there's a reading there. You won't be talking about the technology it is. You talk about how it works, first of all. But no, she's saying it's got lights on the front. Well, you might have known that blood pressure test, there's lights and noises and all sorts of things come from the box you use there. But would you talk about the lights on the front? Or would you talk about the process that goes on first? Well, she talked about the machine. It's almost, this is making it realistic because it was a box with lights on the front and German technology. She then says there's two metal pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back. So you'll notice present tense here. There's two pads, one that goes below the chair and one that goes behind your back. And you'll notice also we've got the chair and your back. So not only is this in present tense, i.e. she could just be making this up right now as she's talking, but also it's distant. It's not, there were two pads, one that went below the chair and one that went behind my back, which would be talking about her specifically. It's just the chair, not my chair, your back, not my back. And all this goes, so there's two pads, present tense, one that goes, present tense, below the chair, one that goes behind your back. So she's not talking specifically about the test that she had. She's talking kind of rather more generally about these tests. By the way, another thing there is there were two pads, two metal pads. Have you ever seen could you tell me what a metal pad looks like? I can't think of it. Maybe a metal disc. I could think of that, but a pad is soft and metal is hard. So again, I don't think she's got the authentic language to see this one through. And that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies. So here we go. Again, present tense, that measures. So she's talking in general about these tests. She's not telling us about the test that she had. So I think she's made this up or read about it somewhere and thinks that she wants to bring this to life, but she doesn't have the words to do it authentically. And then that measures what I believe or remember to be frequencies. So what we have here again is Belle talking about what she believed at the time. Not I was told even, but I believe. So again, we've got this concept of prove me wrong. This is what I believed, or this is all I remember, but maybe there was more happening, but I only remember this part. Again, prove that I don't remember things. I think Belle is a very skilled liar, and therefore it's much harder to argue with beliefs or what you can remember, what you can't remember, than it is with facts. So I think this is Belle's strategy here for telling a lie is this is what I believed at the time. I believed it gave frequencies, not it did do frequencies. So we've got some really practiced lies going on here. But that test from Belle, what do you think? Did it happen or did it not happen? I'm very much with the did not happen. We'll be back with more Belle shortly, including we'll hear her definition of the truth and her definition of lies. That is going to be fascinating. Now listen, do you ever feel like you're not being told the full story? Like with Belle there. Well, you're right. It's happening all the time. Sometimes just not as big as Belle does, but it's happening all around us. And I'm here to give you the key to seeing deeper, because this is about hearing the world with new ears. And I'm on a mission to share this skill with as many people as possible. So if you want to join me in that journey, if you want to unlock this secret, then subscribe to this channel, follow and join the movements. Also delve into the archives, which are a treasure trove of cases waiting to be explored. You can be a force for good in this as well. You can change things, because if you know someone who needs this, someone who deserves to see the truth, hit the like button, share this, recommend it to people, pass it on. Listen, every single click, every single share fuels the fire, because it allows me to dig deeper, analyze further, and bring this life-changing skill to even more people. Now, you have the power. You can do this. So let's get on, press those buttons, and thank you very much for pressing them. Here's some more from Belle.
I mean, you go into extraordinary details. I had surgery about 7 hours ago. The doctor comes in and tells me the draining failed and I went into cardiac arrest and died for just under 3 minutes. I had the most intense bruising from the paddles when they electrocuted me back to consciousness. Minus the wires and constant throwing up of blood. Anyway, the procedure failed and I died.
See, I haven't read back through all of that. But I also think when you're young and have gone through the situation I had just gone through, you are melodramatic. I don't have...
Melodramatic now? I mean, they're straight out lies. You weren't in hospital. You're claiming you were. You claimed you died twice. You didn't. You claimed you had 2 cardiac arrests. You didn't. That's not melodramatic. That's straight out lying.
It is.
Extraordinary lies. And if you lie about that, and you go to those extraordinary lengths to create the story around that lie, how can we believe anything you say now?
Tara, I have lost everything and I'm not here to regain it. But when you hit rock bottom, there is only an opportunity to be honest and to heal and to apologise. And I'm here to do that. There is no reason for me to lie. And it's not something I want to be doing either.
There's an interesting exchange there. So it's put to her about this post that she made talking about being in hospital and going into cardiac arrest in hospital, and yet none of it happened. And her response to that being put to her is interesting. She says, see, I haven't read back through all of that, but I also think when you're young and have gone through the situation that I had gone through, you are melodramatic. C is how she starts that answer. I think that's very much like starting an answer with well or so. It's I'm not going to deal with the point that you've just raised. I'm going to explain away what has happened. So I'm not going to take on exactly what you've said. I'm going to give you my point of view, a very different point of view. And she's flagging that with the word C. And she says, see, I haven't read back through all of that. What? You know, you've actually said this. So the question really is, why did you say this? Why did you tell this grand lie? So this is kind of irrelevant. I haven't read back through all of that. I think this is just buying her thinking time. Something very important, something very stressful has been put to her. How she answers has got to be exact to get her out of this huge thing, which is, you lied. You blatantly lied. You didn't just believe things and kind of pass them off as your beliefs. You lied about what you experienced. And she says, see, I haven't read back through all of that, so that's irrelevant. Also, the word all in there suggests that she's read back through quite a lot of it, just not all of it. Here comes the but again. But I also think when you're young and have gone through the situation I have just gone through, you are melodramatic. So the but is now, here comes my excuse. This is what's more important to me. This is how I'm going to try and dig myself out of the hole. And I'm flagging this with but. So there's some great flags in this sentence. See, I'm not going to take that question on. I'm actually going to tell you something different, and I'm going to explain why I'm telling you something different. But here's what's coming that's more important to me. So this but is flagging up importance. But I also think that when you're young and have gone through the situation I had gone through, you are melodramatic. So she's not talking about herself here. Again, she's talking about you. So she's again creating this distance where she's not getting personal and telling us what was going on in her head. It's also, I think. So again, it's not something more direct, which was, I'm young, I've been through a lot, I was very melodramatic. That would be direct and taking ownership, but no, she's got so much distance there. It's when you're young and have gone through the situation I've gone through, and by the way, it's just, I think this, it's not, I believe, not even I believe, it's not even, this is what happened, it's just, I think this is what's happened. You are melodramatic. She doesn't even say she has been melodramatic. The interviewer says, melodramatic now? I mean, they're straight out lies, and these are great questions, and she's not letting Belle get away with any of this bull. I mean, they're straight out lies. You weren't in hospital. You're claiming you were. You claimed you died twice. You didn't. You claimed you had 2 cardiac arrests. You didn't. That's not melodramatic. That's straight out lying. And once more, at the very start, after a very stressful question, Belle says, it is. So she is agreeing. So for all that bluster, for all the C's and for all the buts, Belle can admit that that was straight out lying. Extraordinary lies, it's put to her, and if you lie about that and you go to those extraordinary lengths to create the story around that lie, how can we believe anything you say now? And she says, Tara, I have lost everything and I'm not here to regain it. But when you hit rock bottom, there is only an opportunity to be honest and to heal and to apologise, and I'm here to do that. There's no reason for me to lie, and it's not something I want to be doing either. Treasure trove of red flags here. She starts with Tara, which I think is just an attempt to bond by using someone's name. Again, manipulative people do that quite a lot. They'll use someone's name a lot because it's the most important word in our lives is our name. And she's using the name there, Tara. I have lost everything. Now that is very straightforward and truthful. It's and no distance. I have lost everything. So there's no persuasion, there's no convincing going on there. That's a very honest statement from Belle, and this is what honesty looks like from Belle. It's very much what honesty looks like from everyone. It's very straightforward and very direct. I have lost everything. And she says, and I'm not here to regain it. Why did she say that? Well, it's a statement in the negative. I'm not here to regain it. That shows that in her head, the concept of regaining things is actually there. And that's what I think this interview, she thought naively she could dig herself out of these horrible big lies that have been put to her. And what she's doing is saying, oh, it's what I believed at the time. Other people took me in, they made me think things and I just acted on them in good faith. So I think this was an opportunity for her in her head to try and regain at least credibility, if not everything. Which is why I think we can see what she's doing. So our truth and our motivations will leak out in her words. So even though she says, I'm not here to regain it, because it's a statement in the negative, it shows us the concepts that are inside our heads. And here, the concept of regaining things is inside there. And then she just goes and creates this huge distance again. But when you hit rock bottom, so not me, I've hit rock bottom. Now I only have an opportunity to be honest. That's not what she says. She talks about someone else. When you hit rock bottom, so this is theoretical. This is not what has happened to her. When you hit rock bottom, there is only an opportunity to be honest. Just an opportunity to be honest. So again, she's talking theoretically, but she's not saying I've hit rock bottom. I can only be honest now. Or I am only being honest now. It's just an opportunity to be honest. Well, that's sometime in the future. She doesn't say that she's being honest here and now inside this interview and to heal and to apologise. And I'm here to do that, not I'm here doing that. So again, this is an intention at some point in the future. This apology is there sometime in the future. She's not saying this is what I'm doing right now. I'm only here to do that at some point. There is no reason for me to lie, and it's not something I want to be doing either. And this says to me that Belle has not let go of lying at all. It's not something I want to be doing either. Well, when do we use that phrase? I've got to get up at 4 o'clock every morning to go at work. That's not something I want to be doing. It's when you're doing it. When you're doing it, That's when you say, that's not something I want to be doing either. So I think in her head, it's leaking out here. She's still telling the lies. The lies go on. She doesn't want to, I believe that, but she cannot help herself. So here, number one, there's no apology. She just says, I've got an opportunity to be honest, not I am being honest. I don't want to tell lies, but not I am not telling lies, just I don't want to tell lies. And I'm here to apologise, or I'm here to do that. But that is not an apology. We haven't seen any real sincere apology from Belle at all. Let's get some more from Belle.
Would you accept that you're a pathological liar?
No.
What the definition of truth is?
Yes.
What's your definition of truth?
Speaking with honesty and with clear definition around fact.
And what's your definition of a lie?
Well, obviously the opposite of that.
A false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive, an intentional untruth, a falsehood.
And I've not been intentionally untruthful.
Really? Okay, so she's asked at the beginning of this, would you accept you're a pathological liar? She says, no. That doesn't mean she's not a pathological liar. That just means she's not going to accept that premise. Do you know, I think the words are just what the definition of truth is. I think it is, what is the definition of truth, Belle? She says, yes. And then she's asked, what's your definition of truth? And she struggles. She really struggles. Now, why is that? Is it because she doesn't really know the truth from lies? Or is it because it's a high stakes question that if she defines something as truth here, then lots of things she's done in the past could be held up against the filter and the definition of truth that she's pulling out. And she goes, crap, I need to be really careful what I say here. So what's your definition of truth? She says, which is an indication she's thinking about it. And you see how slowly the words come out in this answer because she's thinking word by word by word by word. She says, speaking with honesty and with clear definition around fact. That's a very, very strange definition of truth. It starts with the word speaking. So this is what you say. Now, truth is not what you say. Truth is facts, isn't it? You know, it's things that have happened, things that are known. It's much more concrete than what is spoken. So the first word, which she's asked for a definition of truth, is speaking. So that suggests in her head that she knows that lots of untruth has been spoken by her. So the truth, this is a very personal definition of what truth is. This is about how she would think of the truth. Speaking with honesty and then she struggles, and with clear definition around facts. I think this is just a brilliant crash course in how big liars operate. Clear definition around fact. That is, it's that thing I was talking about she can say, I believed I had cancer, and that's very hard to disprove because it's her belief. It's very hard to do that. Or she can say, I had cancer, which would be a lie, or I didn't have cancer, which would be the truth. Clear definition around fact. Clear definition. I think she's thrived and is still thriving on these vague areas where there's facts, but you don't have to be clearly defined around them. And she's asked, what's your definition of a lie? And she says, well, obviously, the opposite of that. So she cannot actually come out and verbalize words that say what a lie is. Instead, it's well, and this is one of those words that points up that I'm not going to answer the question like you said. I'm not going to give you a verbal dictionary-esque definition of what a lie is. Well means I'm not going to take on that question as intended. I'm going to give you my own answer. And it's a flag that is happening. And she says, obviously, the opposite of that, and obviously is a convincing word. It's kind of like, stupid question. Why are you even asking me this question? The answer is obvious. It's obviously the opposite of that. But she's asked, what's the truth? And she gives this very strange definition. And then she's asked, what's a lie? And she gives no definition at all, apart from opposite of what I've just said. It's put to her, a false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive, an intentional untruth, a falsehood. So that is a much better definition of a lie. And she says, I've not been intentionally untruthful. So she's got an admission there that she has been untruthful, but also that word intentionally untruthful is interesting. Again, it's this thing I think she's using as a shield, a cover story, which is that I thought I had cancer, I believed I had cancer, and this is just more lies carrying on. I've got one last thing from Belle. This is from a newspaper or a magazine article that someone found, and this is her talking about her hard childhood. And again, I think what she's doing is victim status here. I had a hard childhood, and that's to blame for how I've turned out. So the story goes, when I started school, my mum went. My daughter is grown up now. Now, that word went suggests, again, it's this distance that is so often a theme of Belle's. It's not my mum said to me, you are grown up now. This is said to someone else. My mum went. My daughter is grown up now. Now, why is Belle not saying how her mother treated her directly? Because she's claiming bad treatment by her mother. And yet, again, with Belle, the language is not direct. Because my mum went, my daughter is grown up now, not you are grown up now. So none of this was said to Belle. All of a sudden, and liars do this very often, it's all of a sudden, things came out of the blue. All of a sudden, I didn't know it was going to happen. All of a sudden, I was walking to school on my own, making school lunches and cleaning the house every day. And you'll see an element of present tense in that. It's not I walked to school on my own, made school lunches, cleaned the house every day. It's I was. So there's past tense in the I was, but then we've got this much more active tense, walking to school on my own, making school lunches and cleaning the house every day. Then she says, it was my responsibility to do grocery shopping, do the washing, arrange medical appointments and pick up my brother. I didn't have toys. Now, she says it was her responsibility, but she doesn't say what she did, if you know what I mean. You know, like she doesn't say, I did the grocery shopping, I did the washing, I arranged medical appointments, I picked up my brother. It's just, it was my responsibility. I would bet she did do some grocery shopping, because lots of kids do. She did do some washing, because some kids do. Arrange medical appointments? Maybe. Pick up my brother? I mean, she doesn't say where she'd pick up the brother from, what, next door? Or from school? Or I don't know. But she's trying to tell us that what is wrong with her is a bad childhood, maltreatment by her mother. And yet that, again, is full of Belle Gibson distance that I just don't buy, I just don't think is credible. So look, those are the words of Belle Gibson, and I think more than anything, I think she's lying there, but I think it's pretty obvious she's lying there, that she's just trying to tell different lies in order to get out from being caught for telling very big lies. But I think what is more interesting there is seeing some of the tactics as she describes how a liar works and how the brain thought processes of how lies and truth work, especially to a large liar. Now, what do you think? Do let me know in the comments if you can. You'll find all the links in the show note here, or you can go to neveratruerword.com. You'll find all the links there as well. Also on that website, you will find a whole load more podcasts or video analysis of people who are telling the truth or telling lies and how you can spot them using their words. Neveratruerword.com is the website, and we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.